Plus, I'm forgetting one. I think this is the first time you're playing somebody twice in conference this year. With CSU, you went 9-3, and now you're starting the second.
Yeah, yeah.
What obviously you already know conference teams pretty well, but when you play them the second time, what's different about that?
Well, there's always so many factors in that. Sometimes, throughout our career, some guys would have injuries, not injuries. Some guys are back, not back. Teams get hot and start playing. So there's always so many variables, and then there's the obvious one, whether it's home and away. And it seems like they wait to do the vacuuming and all right, ready, cue the vacuum. So Nate'll get it done. Yeah. No, it's sorry. I apologize. I mean, it's a big building. It seems like they could go somewhere else.
At least it's not the fridge.
Yeah. Okay.
The fridge. That's the last time.
So yeah, the home and away is obviously big, especially in this league. That's huge.
The old adage is it's tough to beat a team twice in a year. Is that just because they're able to kind of adjust and figure out a new game plan? Does that kind of put you at a disadvantage?
No, I think it's the home and away first of all, and then it's really hard to beat a good team twice. That's really, really hard, and these are good teams, no doubt.
When you look at the best teams get better as the year goes on, how has Colorado State got better? How do they maybe look different than the last time you guys played?
The crazy thing about basketball now is it's important to play. Those games in November matter so much, and look at all the credit they got for those wins, and so it's hard. You want your team to improve, but it's so hard to play at your best from November to March. I mean, nobody's going to do that. Nobody, and like I was talking about the Chiefs, they're a pretty good example of peaking at the right time. So there's some of that, but you want to be playing good all year because those games matter so much, and there's sometimes resume builders. There's sometimes things that we can't let them in the tournament. They lost a game in November that they shouldn't. There's all kinds of factors, but yeah, you'd love your team to be peaking in January, February, March, and preferably right at the end, but to get to the end, you got to play good in January and February, no doubt.
This will be your third game in 7 days, second on the road. Just how you feel? The bye's coming up next week, but how do you think the guys are doing fatigue-wise?
Yeah, I think they're doing great because they know what's coming. That we do have a bye coming, and we're not. We'll give them some days off then, and but yeah, if that's where the bye feels like it's coming at a great time to keep our eyes and keep our focus not on 5 more weeks, but on we got some time after this, but not now. We don't have the time now, so let's get our minds right, and then our bodies will follow. And I think that's our mindset.
I know we've asked about this, but how much have the Chargers helped with?
Huge. I mean, you've gone to all these games, and sometimes you've had to go commercial back, and you're like, man, I need a recovery day and a half, but think about playing the game and the emotion of it and the fatigue of it, and all that stuff adds up, and it's always cumulative.
Obviously, 2 big road games this week before you said the bye. What do you hope to learn going into the bye?
Well, I don't know what we'll learn, but we're not focusing on 2. We got 1 tomorrow. That's it. And, we've done a good job of kind of chunking things out that way. And, February, I don't know if there's going to be a ton of surprises, hopefully. And, but I feel like we're a team that's getting better and better as the season's gone on.
How tough is it to play at Moby Arena?
Oh yeah, it's crazy because you just got done talking about the last place we played at as one of the best in the country, and then 5 or 6 days later you're at this place is the best. They really are. And until I think Bausch said something about that. Like, yeah, you hear me talk about it, but when you go experience it, you're like, oh wow. It blows you away, and that's in the old days. People wouldn't go with us and see these things, and they had no idea what you know, when you'd win one, we'd be like, wow, that was a big deal. That was a good accomplishment. And people are like, oh yeah, that was nice. No, it's hard to win a road game. And when you look at people's numbers on the road, there's a reason they are what they are. And, you know, as far as wins and losses and those other things. And it's like I've always said, it's one of the toughest conferences in the country to play on the road because we have factors that other people don't have.
I know, I mean, you go into every game thinking you can win, feeling good, but after you go to the pit with that atmosphere and you win that game from a confidence standpoint, and I would assume, you know, no disrespect to Colorado State, not sure if it'd be quite as good there or wherever, but I mean, do you go into a game now, it's like, we can win anywhere, we can beat anybody.
You know, I think that's part of our DNA anyways. I mean, yeah, it has to help your confidence. You know, all those things have to help you. But every game's a new game, and you know, we did a lot to get that one done. We're gonna have to do a lot to get tomorrow's done.
I know you guys had your process and stuff on the road, but it's 4-0 in league, and obviously if you want to win a championship, you know, winning road games is very important for that. How do you, I guess, what's been the most impressive thing about the road games you guys have played and how you've been able to stay unblemished to this point?
I think what's most impressed me is I don't know if we've ever had a group where everybody brought something really important at a high level. I mean, we've always had lots of contributors and lots of, you know, oh, this guy did a good job and this guy did. Everyone's doing their job at the highest level. Everybody that's on that plane with us, and that adds up.
You know, Leon, we haven't talked to you since you've had a chance to look at the tape from Saturday against Air Force. It was like a stat geek's paradise with the efficiency numbers and some of these next-gen stats. When you went back and saw it, I mean, what stood out at how efficient you guys were?
Well, I'll speak to that first. Is that and I haven't watched this whole 30 for 30, I think it was, on Bill Walton, and they, you know, I think it summed up what you just said about the next gen stats and all this net stuff and all these analytics and you know, like the efficiency rankings, how they move you in the net. And you know, there's some teams that just have beaten maybe bad teams by a lot and were efficient and they have a great net ranking. And then there's other teams that have got the job done and won a lot of good games and maybe aren't getting rewarded as much in that. And so I watched this, there was a little blurb on Bill Walton on this 30 for 30 about how they had hung all these stats in the locker room, and he was looking at, people were looking at the stats and his teammates, and he just ran by and he just yanked them all down and was like, did we win or did we not win? I mean, that's it. I think we've lost that, you know. I mean, you look at our team of what we've done, and nobody, you know, there's a lot of teams that we've beat that continue to get tons more, you know, respect for stats or efficiency or whatever, all that stuff, which is fine. We got to just keep doing our job, and you know. But it's funny how that all has gotten clouded, and that, you know. But that sums up the guys that I have. They're not looking at every single stat. They're not, you know. And those become fun things to talk about and clickbait and all these things about. But we've lost sight in a lot of ways of what you're really trying to accomplish, and that's winning games. That's really what it's about.
With Colorado State, you know, Stevens is obviously doing what he's doing, but what have you seen from some of the other guys, you know, since he played the last time?
Yeah, I mean, you know, they have one of the most efficient offenses as far as, you know, the hard to guard, and I'm not just talking stats. It passes the look test, it passes I mean, they get it done, and led by, you know, like I've said many times, one of the best players, point guards in the country. And so they are a handful. They're a handful both ends. They're a handful with their home court. It feels like, you know, when you watch them at home, they play faster, they shoot it better, they, you know, like most teams do. But man, they can get it rolling in there.
All right, is it like the chess match? Since you guys have played, I mean, you thinking, you know, we want to run some of the stuff that worked for us before, or are they thinking they want to switch, or or not? I mean, is that kind of what the coach?
There always is, but then it always kind of goes back to with good programs, you're going to do what you do, but you got to do it at a higher level against, and that's what you're always trying to do. And, and that's where, back to your Air Force question, yeah, that's where you saw some of it come together. That was, our offense was, I mean, I knew it during the game. I mean, there were timeouts when I was telling our guys, man, that last 4 minutes, 5 of those possessions were a thing of beauty. It's what you're working for. It's what you're showing them film about. It's what you're, why you do what you do. And we just had a great pace and tempo and passed up the good shot for the great shot, all those things you're always talking about. And then the ones you end up getting were wide open ones that instead of the slightly contested one are kind of open. And that increases your percentages, no doubt.
I know every game's different, but would you anticipate Kobe Young with what he did the other day, continuing to try to push his way out on the floor?
Yeah, no doubt. And, that's the challenge for me as a coach is to just find the right lineups and the right together, and and that can be a guessing game because you think you know what you're going to get every night, but you don't, and then you got to kind of adjust on the fly and figure out who's hot and get them out there more and who's playing great. And, so that's a challenge, but it's a good feeling to have more and more guys that you can trust to get in there. And we have a lot more guys starting to click. And, this is the time of year where freshmen aren't freshmen anymore, Andrew, when, there's a lot more experience. The new guys aren't really new anymore. They know what's going on. And so maybe that's a reason why you click a little bit better.
How important is, just having the line depth in February?
I think it's really important. It's really important. And, because I mean, we were a little bit probably tired Saturday, and we had, Booz only played 19 minutes. Kobe and Andrew picked up the slack, and, Jays and a bunch of these guys. Cam had some great second half. And so I think that gets you through, that's why we were able to be more efficient instead of the starters all playing 30-plus minutes. I think that really helped you.
Where does Kobe help you, say, defensively, your expectations? He comes on, what are you expecting him to
Well, he is a great athlete, and he understands what's going on out there, and he's been through a lot. He's been through a lot here, and what a just amazing kid. Just show up with such a good attitude every day, and some days he doesn't, he hasn't got to play nearly as much as he wants to. So just a credit to him and his toughness and the kind of guy he is, and just did it for his teammates. But he looked really good out there, and he showed me that in practice where I was like, oh, so credit to him. That's why that matters, and that's why I trusted him. Like, oh, yeah, I just kept my eye on him, and I'm like, okay, now, here we go. And he delivered.
What's his ceiling? Maybe not necessarily right now, but I mean, what we see him in the layup lines out. We see him doing a couple of those possessions on defense, locking them down. The one rebound he grabbed, he's way above the rim. I mean, how good could he be?
I think it's just all about his belief and confidence in himself. And, as a coach, you try to, I've always said that they have to do that for themselves. Yeah, we can try to help with that, but ultimately it's always on the individual about confidence and moxie and that stuff. And, sometimes that's gained faster with some guys than others. And but if his confidence catches up with his ability, you got a great player.
You guys are first place in the league right now. I think Max today has been the only player of the week winner for you this season. What's that say about this team?
Yeah, there is a great balance to it. And, Tyson's never received that reward. And we were talking about it because Max had the San Diego State or the Nevada game and the New Mexico game when Tyson had his career highs or something like that. It's crazy. But, the beauty of these guys, they're not playing for that. That when one of our guys gets that, it's a reflection on all the other guys. It's a reflection on you. Because usually you don't give it to guys off losing teams unless they scored 60 or some crazy, crazy thing. But so it's a reflection on all of the program when you get an award like that.
How would you evaluate where Andrew Meadow is at this point of the year? Where's he grown since maybe started conference play, started his arrival in Boise?
Yeah, he's just getting more comfortable in our system and getting more comfortable against the competition that you play against every night. And we've had 1 million close games, so he's getting more comfortable in that. And he's always had a lot of moxie, and so I don't think he's ever been bothered by a moment. But now, the more of them you're in, the more comfortable you get. So I think that's the biggest thing.
As you kind of develop the depth, you mentioned Zuavo playing fewer minutes. I mean, that can be good because he comes out fresh, but he's also on the court less time. Is there a sweet spot as you?
Yeah, there always is. There always is. And what I mean, there's no plans to play Chibuzo in less minutes. That was just circumstances that day, and it helped us though.